Okay, and we are here about 1 hour-ish after the Timberwolves game just ended. Um, you know, kind of a rough start. But listen, that's okay. It's game one. It's game one. It's game one. We have plenty of time to turn things around, hopefully, but still, rough game. Rough game. And we'll get into all of what made that game so rough. We'll get into what made the Timberwolves lose, the Raptors win. We'll get into what needs to be improved on, what positive takeaways there were. In my opinion, that the major factors that swung this game, who played good, who played bad. We're going to get into all of it. This is the weirdest team ever, a Minnesota Timberwolves focused podcast. This is the second episode you're listening to right now. I just came out with one 2 days ago by the time you're seeing this, where I went over to Jaden McDaniels' extension, and I kind of went over this Raptors matchup a little bit, just kind of previewed that. But, go check that out too. Like the video here on YouTube. I'm going to get these on Spotify and Apple Podcasts hopefully soon. I've got some Mavs versus Spurs on the other screen here. What else? I got some shaggy hair right now, don't care. It's part of the deal. But we can just get right into it then. Timberwolves lose 94-97 against the Toronto Raptors in Toronto. And I don't really know where to start with this one other than just kind of reiterating, this was a rough game. It really is a rough game. The offense looked completely different than what it was like in preseason. The Mavs, especially when all the starters play, and the Knicks too. Those teams, we match up well against those teams. As far as those teams, the Mavs and the Knicks, they play a very isolation heavy style of basketball. Same with the Bulls. And I think this Timberwolves team guards isolation basketball very, very well. Even with McDaniels out of the game, you've got Anthony Edwards who can guard the isolation. Kyle Anderson, I think, is a good isolation defender. Naz Reid is a great isolation defender. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Mike Conley in his old age can still guard in the perimeter. So those kind of teams we match up very well against, but the Raptors we don't. And in the last episode, the one I just talked about, I kind of said that we match up well against the Raptors, which I know for sure now that wasn't true. And even after I said it, I was kind of thinking maybe we don't. I don't really know why I said we match up super well against them. Because we don't. Their style of offense, even with a new coach, even with Van Vliet off the team, it's ball movement heavy. It's getting in transition. It's forcing turnovers and getting after it in transition. Which if you've watched the Timberwolves at all the last honestly 35 years, we've never been a very good transition team, especially last year with last year's makeup of the team. The transition defense just sucked. Seriously, it just sucked. And last year the team was big, but so you can kind of understand why the transition defense would be bad, because bigger players are usually slower, and transition is all about speed. So the team was bad in transition last year, but we also didn't rebound really at all. In this game, the team rebounded. We out-rebounded the Raptors by more than double digits, which, if you know anything about how team stats and stuff usually go, typically the rebound winning team wins the game. And especially if you're out rebounding the other team by 10 rebounds, it's very common for the team with more rebounds, who more than 10 extra rebounds, are winning that game. But in this case, the Timberwolves just did not. And in fact, I believe that the Minnesota Timberwolves actually had a lot of stats that were kind of better than the Toronto Raptors. We are out, the team out rebounded the Raptors 62-47. Can't have that happen. Free throws. Minnesota Timberwolves. They shot more free throws. They made them at a higher percentage. Still nothing. You know, where the team really got killed was just like shooting the ball and offense and transition points. Yeah, fast break points. 12-34 in favor of Toronto. Like that's rough. But man, you just don't see often that when the team with more rebounds, and especially 15 more rebounds, you don't see that they lose very often. You just don't. And the more free throws thing, more free throws at a higher percentage, it's just extra points on the board for that team. And Timberwolves just couldn't do it. Maybe I already said it, but the offense sucked. It just did. The offense really, really sucked this game. Anthony Edwards had a really inefficient night. We can start with him because he's the best player and that he's the face of the team. Let's start with him. I thought the first quarter, Ant started off hot. He was killing. I think he had the first 10 points for the Timberwolves. I think he ended that first quarter with maybe 16, maybe like 14, 15, somewhere around there. Shooting it super efficiently, getting to his spots. That three was going in. The mid-range was going in. He was getting to that left hand down the lane, getting to the line. He was getting those calls. And after that first quarter, all of that basically stopped. I feel like at this point in Ant's career, year 4, I don't really know how many more excuses we can make about the shot selection issues because, you just got to admit the shot selection with Ant is still a problem. And we saw it today that it was 1,000% still a problem. I mean, every single time outside the first quarter, again, nearly every single time he was double teamed, it felt like he was trying to dribble his way out of it, which is just not what you do. You got to find a way to pass. You got to see the doubles before they happen. That's what the smart players do. They see the doubles coming before they happen. They know what to do. Ant didn't do that tonight. Ant had 1 assist. I mean, in the first quarter, he found Rudy on that cut to the basket, and it was like, oh, that's what we need. I mean, when I saw that play happen, I was like, okay, if Ant can do this the rest of the game, it's like, it's over. Larry O'Brien is coming to Minneapolis, but not only did he not pass or make an assist to Rudy the rest of the game, that was the only assist he had was that one play super early on. Ant dribbled and dribbled. He took a ton of shots. That's really not good. You just can't have that from the best player. 8 for 27 from the field. That's really, really bad. That's 29%, if you're wondering. From 3, he had an efficient 3-point shooting night, which is good to see. But if you can't convert the layups, and if you're going to keep on taking these mid ranges, you got to make them. You got to show them. You got to show that you can make them at a higher clip. He went 4 for 7 from 3, which is 57%. From free throw, he took 6 free throws. He made them all. 2 turnovers, which is 1 assist, 2 turnovers, not good. Had a lot of rebounds. He had 14 rebounds. That's his career high in rebounds, I believe, which is that's good to see. That's a positive takeaway, I guess. Anthony Edwards has never been a strong rebounder. I mean, the Timberwolves have never been a strong rebounding team, which makes it even more infuriating that we won the rebound battle by 15 and still lost. Because we have been begging for this team to rebound for so long. For so long, we've been begging this team to rebound, and they finally rebound, and they still lose. Just not good. I'm disappointed by Anthony Edwards' performance. Is 8 for 27 or whatever it is something that we can expect to continue? No. Sometimes you just have a bad game. Simple as that. Sometimes you just have a bad game. Again, the Raptors are a tough defensive team. They've got a lot of guys on the team with long wingspans who are strong, who are disciplined defenders, who can switch a ton of different positions. Like you've got OG Anunoby, who's one of the best perimeter defenders in the entire NBA. I think Pascal is a pretty good perimeter defender. Scotty Barnes is a good defender. Dennis Schroeder is a good defender for a guard as well. They've got more guys at the bench that can do the same thing. It's a tough matchup for sure, but 8 for 27, it just can't happen. It was a really bad game for Ant today. And then we can talk about Karl too, because I thought Karl had. It was still a pretty bad game offensively, but a better game than Ant maybe, even though Karl had 6 less points and 4 less rebounds. I don't know. I think Karl with Ant, I think Ant had some shot selection issues that really just didn't go his way. And yeah, like 8 for 27 with a player that good. It's partly just, the shots weren't going in too. But I thought a lot of Ant's missed shots could have been avoided had he just took better shots. But I don't really feel the same for Karl. I think a lot of his shots were good looks, in my opinion. They just didn't go in. I mean, 2 for 10 from 3. If you know Karl-Anthony Towns, you know that isn't going to continue. I like that he shot those threes. I mean, I don't want him to stop taking a lot of threes, but I predict. I think it's safe to predict that the made threes will go up with that. 8 for 25 from the field generally. That's 32%. That's not good. But again, I think there are a lot of open looks. 1 free throw, he made it. 4 turnovers, 3 assists. That's not good. Both Cat and Ant had more turnovers and assists. That's really bad. 4 assists combined. And what is that? That's 6 turnovers combined. 4 assists and 6 turnovers for your 2 best offensive players. That's really bad. That's really, really bad. I thought Cat's defense, though, today was really good. I mean, 4 blocks. 4 blocks is not the end all be all encompassing stat of interior defense, but the eye test also kind of showed that I thought Cat had a really good defensive game. Even when sharing the court with Gobert, I thought on defense at least it was good defensively from Cat. Offense, different story with the 2 bigs thing. I thought the 2 bigs look was really bad on offense, really, really bad. And listen, I think I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but I think this team will win a lot of regular season games. I think there's playoff volatility, but a lot of teams have playoff volatility. But I think this team will win a lot of regular season games. In fact, for Canis Hoopus, all of us writers, contributors had a bold predictions, hot takes type of article that came out today. A bunch of us contributed to it, and I've got some takes in there, and I said that I'm smashing the over for 44 games, 44 wins for this team. But the confidence I have in the 2 bigs thing is probably about a 5 out of 10. And I wrote about my reasoning in there. But based off this one game, my confidence in the 2 bigs thing is right now looking more like a 2 or 3 out of 10. Obviously, it's one game. So that's not like that doesn't change my overall thing. But just for this game, it was really bad. I mean, this looked a lot like beginning of last year's team. It looked a lot like the beginning of last year's team, and that's super frustrating as a fan because, and I know I'm gonna keep on saying it. I know it's one game, but like in preseason, I thought the team looked a lot more focused and concentrated. Things just kind of hummed on offense a bit more than it ever had last year, in my opinion, when Cat and Rudy were both in the court. Tonight, it just looked like last year again. It looked like the beginning of last year when Cat and Rudy were clearly not really making it work on offense, and Ant didn't have a great start to last season either. Yeah, it really worries me that could happen again because I think the Timberwolves need to start out good this year. The last 3 seasons now, the team has had a slow start, and that I think is kind of what hurt us a lot last year. I mean, we had we should like this team needed to make the most out of when Cat was playing before he went down, and they couldn't do that. So we got off to a weird start last season, and when Cat was out, yeah, it fixed the two bigs problem temporarily just by not having there, but it also hurt the offense a ton. It was really not good that beginning of last year, and the year before that, the 46 win season, the year where we played Memphis. If you remember, we started off like 4-9 too, and we could have been a 50 win team if we would have got some things together. Again, I'm going to say it's just a bad habit. Maybe not even a bad habit. Maybe it's a habit. So I don't know. And the year before that, the year where there was no fans, the 2020-2021 year, I mean, we were bad the entire year, so it doesn't really count. I mean, the year before that, the 19-20 year, the year where we traded for D'Lo halfway through, that was actually we actually started off really well until the OKC game where Dennis Schroeder of all people had that put up the layup off the Steven Adams throw in, and then we were like okay, we were 10-9 until that game, and then we just lost basically everything else. I'm getting off track, but I think the Wolves need to start off good this year, and I don't like what we saw the first game. I don't, and yeah, game 1 out of 82. Unless you're someone who had the Wolves going 82-0 this year, this game 1 shouldn't shatter anybody's hopes. It shouldn't, I mean, I say it as a joke, like it's over, season's over, but season is far from over. It's very far from over, but I would have liked to see the Timberwolves come out this game with a looking better just overall on offense. So yeah, and the bench too. The bench was rough. No real other ways to put it. I mean, the bench it felt like the bench gave the team close to nothing. I think Kyle Anderson had a good game. For sure, Kyle Anderson had a good game. But the rest of the bench, nuh-uh. Not at all. Shake Milton looked just not good. He just looked not good. I don't know if it was first game jitters or if it was, just that. I don't know if it was if he was just feeling a bit, I don't know about nervous because they're NBA players, but I don't know if he just felt a bit uncomfortable and trying to get used to this new team because he's only ever played in Philly. I don't know exactly what it was, but I do know that Shake Milton just didn't look good. He didn't look like a point guard at all. I mean, the passes he was making were like a lot of times very ill-advised. Very ill-advised. I mean, he'd pass right into defenders, try to go for passes. I know there was one where he was going baseline and he's about to fall out or getting pushed out. He tries to swing it back to Rudy, who's waiting, and just a bad pass. I mean, he didn't look like a point guard, and that's not Shake's archetype. Like, he's not a Mike Conley, he's not a Jordan McLaughlin. I mean, he's a scorer, really, but if he is going to be the backup point guard, I would like to see him be better and take care of the ball a bit more. He had turnovers. He looked hesitant to shoot. And the thing I've kind of noticed about watching the NBA is that when players are shooting and the ball is hitting the front of the rim over and over again, that's a red flag. That means that player is either pretty unconfident in their shot at that moment, or that means there are just things wrong with the jump shot by itself. And we saw in preseason that Shake Milton was a good shooter. I think in that Knicks game, especially coming in transition, just pulling up for those threes, he looks good. He has a solid form, but tonight we didn't see that. Definitely did not see that tonight. Had turnover issues, not great defense. Shake Milton's performance definitely was bothersome. And even though I'm a big Jordan McLaughlin guy, especially now that he's back healthy, I can't say for certainty that Jordan McLaughlin would have been better, or that Jordan McLaughlin's potential efforts would have swung this game in the Wolves' favor instead of Shake Milton. But you never really know. I kind of wish that Finch maybe when things were really getting sluggish and it was just feeling like things were getting bogged down and maybe you had a chance to take things back. I wish Finch had at least looked to McLaughlin for maybe a tiny spurt just to see if he could, um, ignite some life into the offense. But, we didn't see that happening. Troy Brown Jr., who I thought was great against the Bulls in preseason, um, I think struggled to make much of an impact tonight. I don't remember a ton of his minutes very well, but looking at the box score, um, yeah, played 5 minutes, had a rebound, didn't make a shot, didn't do anything else. Um, yeah, just I mean, I guess he didn't play a lot, but just yeah, not good. And Naz Reid at 10 points, 4 rebounds, and didn't shoot the ball great, but didn't shoot it that bad. But I also just didn't feel his effort tonight, or not effort, because he always plays with effort. Naz Reid plays with effort every night, but I didn't feel his impact. I just didn't feel like he added that much to the game, and I don't think it was a situation where it was like if you just give Naz the ball more, maybe he switches things. I just don't think he looks very good. And Nickeil Alexander-Walker in the starting lineup also didn't look that good. Like we know he's going to be up and down offensively, and today and the Bulls game, he's just been down, just not making the shots. The shots just look off either right or left by like a foot or two. Sometimes it's not great. Yeah, another highlight I would say would be Gobert too. I think Gobert had a really good game. Um, 15 points, 13 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 4 blocks. I thought Rudy had a really good game. Um, I thought his defense was like a really good. He made like a really big impact defensively. On offense, 15 points. I thought him and Mike Conley had some good things going. At times, it wasn't very sustainable because they didn't really go to it a ton. But um, Mike Conley is as never too high, never too low as they come. It feels like, and um, yeah, he's had better games than this. I'm not gonna lie, he's had much better games than this as a Timberwolf. But um, yeah, I mean, he's pretty even keel as it comes to his production and stuff. And he kind of will shine as a team shines, and when the team isn't shining, he's just still being Mike Conley. But yeah, I thought him and Gobert had some good things going. Um, again, Cat and Ant basically in the same like 2 minute stretch had really good passes to Gobert in that first quarter that were like dots right to him. When Rudy's guy would come up to find the ball handler, whether that be Cat or Ant, they would just like zip it to Rudy right away, like right there under the basket to catch the ball. Goes up with a dunk or whatever it is. He had like a nice and one too. I thought Rudy had a really good game for sure, and that's that's good to see. That's exciting to see because Cat, at least these bad shooting nights will average out because he's just that good. But there have been a lot of questions about Gobert physically and if he can stay as like consistent as he used to be, or how do we find Utah Rudy? And I thought we got like a Utah Rudy tonight. So very very convincing. And it's exciting that we saw Rudy play like that, even though the rest of the team just couldn't really do anything. Um, yeah, so best player of this game for the Timberwolves side, I gotta say it's Rudy. So good for him, but we gotta see the rest of the teammates pick it up. But let's talk about the Raptors side a little bit because I thought they did some interesting things this game, and I thought they killed the Wolves at what the Wolves are worst at, which is transition defense. Again, like I said earlier, the Timberwolves are a big team, and big teams typically means slower teams, which means transition defense is hard. And that's not the only, like, they also aren't just a bad transition defense team because they're big. We've seen other big team. We see other big teams be better in transition. Not a ton of the times. Like even the Nuggets, they're a big team, not that good in transition. The Cavs, um, they've got a big front court, and they're not that quick in transition. Or very good in defending transition either. But the Wolves are especially not, and the Raptors are a very good transition team with their new coach. I think he put an emphasis on them getting in transition, and they did just that. Dennis Schroeder, the Wolves killer, 22 points, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, shot the ball really well tonight. Yeah, didn't really turn it over. Didn't turn it over to much. He's a plus 10 of the game, team high. Dennis Schroeder was really good. Scotty Barnes, I thought played really good interior defense on Cat tonight. Part of the reason why Cat has such a bad game, in my opinion, Scotty Barnes, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 5 blocks. It's a well-rounded game, in my opinion, from Scotty Barnes, especially defensively. Didn't have the best shooting game, 6 for 16, 1 for 4 from 3, 4 for 6 from free throw. Scotty Barnes isn't really a very good offensive player so far in his career. I think Scotty Barnes kind of gets a bad rap, especially after that maybe down year 2 he had. But I still think he had a really good game tonight, even though the shooting wasn't great. Jakob Poeltl was fine. It was kind of nullified by Gobert a bit. Didn't play a ton of minutes, only 23 minutes. Siakam didn't even really get going either. Also had a bad shooting night. 6 assists. He's always going to be a good playmaker, but not even a very good night for Siakam. OG Anunoby, I felt like really got us, and his stats don't pop off the page, but 20 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Had a really good shooting night. I felt like he just got the Wolves where it hurt. I mean, he was getting a transition. He's being handsy on defense, like we know he is. OG is a lot like Jaden McDaniels in the sense that he's an aggressive defender. He likes to show his hands a lot, and that leads to fouls and that leads to some issues on its own. But that's OG, and tonight the defense worked. And he was just hitting all. It felt like he was hitting all his jump shots, and the numbers don't show that he was hitting all of them, but it's kind of what it felt like watching in the game. And I think part of that is because the shots he was getting up were not contested. I mean, I saw repeatedly on the perimeter that Towns was going under the screens and just letting OG Anunoby, to get the shots up, and he was making them. It was just like, what is going on? Like, the team can't do that. Like Towns, and that's what's frustrating about that with Towns is like Towns, as much as he has like big feet and he moves a little bit weird and he's not the quickest moving his feet side to side. That's not even the reason why he struggles on the perimeter defensively. A lot of it is just because of his lack of just like defensive IQ out there. It's frustrating. It really is, especially when Towns is being trusted with that OG matchup, which I didn't love to begin with. I'd rather just put him on Pascal, let Ant guard OG, and have things be better. And if McDaniels is playing, he probably guards OG and probably does a better job. He definitely does a better job than Cat, and maybe that swings the game, but you never know. I mean, it's just frustrating to see Cat still in year 9 make those defensive mistakes. And I've already seen people on Twitter or X, I call it Twitter, kind of put try to blame the entire loss on Cat somehow, like him taking that 3 at the end. Like, who gives a shit? The whole team played bad, honestly, for the most part, with the exception of like 3 players. So not all on Cat, even though I think he could have been better guarding the perimeter against OG, even though I also recognize he had a really good night guarding the interior. So, make what you will of that. The Toronto bench, I thought, played whatever. I thought Precious Achua had a fine game, but similar to our bench, I don't think a lot of their players made too much of an impact. It was interesting to see Finchy go 8 deep tonight. Effectively 8 deep. Troy Brown Jr. makes the 9th guy playing, but he only played 5 minutes and barely did anything in those minutes. So I kind of see this as going 8 deep. If McDaniels plays, I don't think they do this. I think they probably go 9, and maybe have their 10th guy or Troy Brown play like 5 minutes or whoever they want. McLaughlin maybe. Garza, I don't know, but only 8 guys tonight, and it's a bit weird because Finch has always been the coach where he, like, when things are going array, I think when things are going bad, I think he likes to put a little bit too much trust into the players that they'll just figure it out and that they'll play themselves out of a little bit of a slump. But I don't think that happens very often with this team, and I tend to think that Finch should be a bit quicker to use his timeouts or just change things up. Like, I think of last year when Jalen Noel was just selling. He was just selling. He was so bad for play after play, turning it over, dribbling it off his foot, just jacking up threes or going into the lane with no plan and getting it stripped, or Austin Rivers kind of doing similar things, or whoever it may be who's not having a good stretch. I just wish Finch was a bit quicker to pull the plug on that and just be like, okay, we gotta change it up a little bit, or call a timeout or something. The most infamous Finch doesn't call a timeout moment in my eyes is, if you remember, Game 3 against the Grizzlies. That's the first game at home where we go up by 20 and we go down by 20 and we go up by 20 again. We go down by 20. Like, we give these runs and no timeout to be found by Finch. This Mavs Spurs game is pretty good. I mean, 100, 8 minutes left. Wemby's not having a great game. He's been in foul trouble, but we'll talk about that on the other podcast, Soul Hoops. Just a quick reminder. A quick reminder that you guys should just go watch that. Check it out. We're coming out with a new video on Friday, a new episode of the podcast where we kind of go over the opening week, go over some things that we saw, go over the 2 games that happened on Tuesday to start things off. So we'll be talking about all that over there and getting into some award predictions and whatnot. So go check that out when that eventually comes up, and check out the latest episode that we have out right now and do all that. So back to the Timberwolves stuff. I think we covered what needs to be covered in the game. Again, rough game, but we've got 82 more of them. And I don't want to preview too much forward to the Miami Heat matchup because, okay, if this comes out on Thursday, then there's still Saturday morning for the game to come out, or maybe I'll just wait until Sunday morning to get the recap out. I don't know if I want to do previews and recaps for each game because that would just kind of be a lot. But I guess I could kind of pack it into this episode. That would be also easier. And then just have the next episode come out on Sunday. So we'll just do that. We'll talk about the Miami Heat matchup for a little bit. So I will be at the game. I am super excited. It's the home opener. I'm really hoping the Wolves can kind of bounce back from that one. I'm also really hoping that McDaniels can be back because I think we need McDaniels to play tough on Jimmy, because I don't want Jimmy to go off with a player who can really just score in bunches when he needs to. We need the best perimeter defender in the league to be available and to play on him. And I've always kind of liked the Edwards matchup on Jimmy too, but there's just no rivaling what McDaniels can do out there too. So As far as the rest of the Heat, I didn't watch their game tonight against the Pistons. I think Cade had a good game. I don't know. I didn't watch their game, so I can't really tell you much about how they're looking this year, and it's a one game sample size anyway. So yeah, like I said last episode, it's hard to do these game previews when we really have no idea how teams play, especially teams that have had um, roster turnover or coaching changes, especially in the case of Toronto. It's difficult, and the Miami Heat, their main like three guys are still the same, right? It's Butler and Bam and Tyler Hero, but it's still a bit different because we don't really know what Kyle Lowry looks like in 2023 that much, and even Tyler Hero was hurt in the playoffs, which is kind of when a lot of people last remember him. Uh, Gabe Vincent and Strus are out the door, which means those minutes are being replaced by someone. And yeah, I don't really have a grasp on how the Heat are looking this year. They're going to work, right? And they're going to play tough, and if you want to beat that team even in the regular season, you got to match their toughness. So we'll see if the Wolves can do that. Historically they have. I think we're like 8-1 in the last 9 matchups against the Heat. So historically we've played them really well. It'll be at Target Center, which is like, where we like to play. I'm so excited. I was also at the Timberwolves hosting the Heat game last year, and that was a much different Heat team and much different Wolves team, if you ask me. I don't think Jimmy even played that game, and like we barely won. It felt like I don't know, but then again, we had D'Angelo Russell, and I don't know. The Heat went to their zone, basically took D'Lo's mid range at the game, and once you do that, it's hard for him to really be that impactful other places. So, um, yeah, that was last year. It's much different this year. So I don't really know how it'll go. Um, and like I kind of hinted at last time, I eventually want to somehow incorporate some like um, footage of me at the game or something into these episodes because that could be kind of cool. But I guess I just don't have a great way of. I haven't really thought about ways I could do that yet. Um, but I'll be going to at least like 10 Timberwolves games this year, so that would make for a cool opportunity. For sure. Even though um, it would just be probably me just like walking into the arena and going to the team store and heading to my seats. I have kind of noticed though, like there are a surprising amount of Timberwolves fans that aren't really in the Minnesota area, or like the Midwest even. And I didn't really know that for a long time. I thought Timberwolves fans only really resided in Minnesota or um, maybe the Dakotas or Iowa or somewhere around here, or maybe a bit north of the border. Even though I think they're all Raptors fans up there. Um, Regardless, um, maybe that would be a cool thing to do. Is for people who haven't really been to a Timberwolves game at the Target Center to kind of have footage of kind of what the experience is like. Even though I don't think the experience is anything to like go crazy over, because I think our stadium is kind of just average, and the experience of going to a game is I love it, but um, it's nothing like insane. So I don't know. I'm getting off track and whatever. But I think it would be. I still think it would be cool to kind of have that, so people who maybe haven't been to a game or just kind of want to know what my experience was like at the game, even though I don't really know why people would, just because I'm still new at this podcast and I don't have that much. I don't really have a name as far as like a platform or this content creation media stuff yet. I'm hoping to kind of continue to build that by doing this podcast and by writing at Canis, and hopefully being like some sort of voice in the Wolves community that um, holds some weight. So, we're all taking steps. We're all taking steps at kind of what we want to do, and that's kind of a dream of mine to be. to be like have a platform as far as like a Timberwolves figure or fan or media member. Hopefully one day down the line I can be like an official media member. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that life can go, and you start your ambitions and dreams somewhere, and sometimes not really knowing what you actually want out of it is part of the fun. So yeah, I'm having fun doing this and recapping these games, even though tonight was kind of a drag. But I'm gonna do a lot more of them. So yeah, so yeah, I mean, keep on checking them out and uh and subscribe for more and all of that. So before we head off, um I do want to go a bit more macro here with like the rest of the Timberwolves season, and just like I'm super excited to be um back watching the Wolves like every couple days. Um it felt like a long summer, especially with the way last season went. It's like I've been hungry for Wolves basketball, and I've been so like I've been longing for when I can finally watch this team again. Maybe not all though, almost, because like when I was watching the game today, like in that third quarter, I was kind of feeling a lot of that same like be like that same anxiety about it. Like I remember like last year, I felt like from the second the game tipped off, it was like blood pressure high, you know, heart beating fast. Like, oh boy, I have to watch this team again for another 48 minutes of play. But um, I also think that we forget like how, like, maybe it sounds dumb, but kind of like watching sports and the Timberwolves is kind of like it's like a privilege almost to in my case have the Minnesota Timberwolves be like one of the sources of anxiety in my life, as opposed to more serious things, I guess. So um it's a privilege to be able to like enjoy sports and to head into another season with you know the team and all of that. So I'm getting off track a bit, but I'm super excited to be watching the Wolves games again, and just watching the NBA in general. um Again, I have another podcast called Soul Hoops where we talk about every team and just keep up with the NBA. And I've got two co-hosts over there, Jeff and Matthias, who honestly they know more about the NBA than I do, and they're way smarter like basketball minds than I am. So it's a cool thing we got going on over there too. So without further ado, I think we can just end it off here because I don't think I have that much more to talk about. We kind of went into this game that happened, and went over the bad and the good and some things we can improve on going forward. So, with all being said, thank you for listening to the weirdest team ever. Again, leave a like and subscribe. And if you guys have Timberwolves friends and Timberwolves fans who are friends or family, or just maybe just like an NBA fan, friend, or family member who just kind of likes listening to random team centered podcasts, just send it to them and do all that. Stay on the lookout for when I get these on Spotify, because that's coming soon for sure. And yeah, have a good one and peace out.